Hey guys, welcome to Mrs. G's Sewing Space. I hope that you guys enjoyed your summer vacation. I know school has started for a lot of you guys, and our school is about to start next week. But I wanted to make sure that I got this video out there to you. This is a video on the Drawstring cinch sacks. So there's a pink one for my daughter and an orange one for my other daughter. And these are just a simple cinch sack made out of ripstop nylon. And I'm going to show you how to put it together. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you at the end of the video. Okay, so today we're going to work on making a drawstring bag, and this is one that I made just the other day to make sure I had all my steps in order. So you've seen them, they're all made out of that kind of plastic stuff. This is ripstop nylon, so it's a nylon, and if you've seen kites have been made out of this, windbreakers are made out of this. I think parachutes are made out of this, possibly, but I'm not positive. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of like sport utility things that you could use to ripstop nylon to make things. So I decided to grab this, one because it's in my daughter's favorite colors, and also because it's sturdy. So fabric sometimes can be heavy when you make things with it, especially you need to have an outside piece, you need to have an inside piece, and then it gets kind of heavy. So I wanted something light, and this is super light. So this is ripstop nylon, and I used ripstop nylon, and I used cording. This is a packet that I found at Joann's in the furniture section, but you can also find them like where the laces are. They're wrapped on those little oval rack things, and you buy it by the yard. So this is what I got, and this is how it closes. So you just, a little drawstring right here, cinches up like that. I think they also call it a cinch sack, drawstring cinch sack, something like that. And then you can put your baby dolls or overnight clothes, or going to grandma's house and you need some panties in there, you know, this is what you use that for. You see teenagers that have a lot of it. And you know, my son's middle school didn't allow backpacks, but they allowed cinch sacks, which I thought was the most ridiculous thing ever. But there you go. So this is a way to make your own. So I'm going to set this aside. Let's talk about our pattern. So for my pattern, I drew out a rectangle that's 19.5 inches tall. So it's 19.5 inches from the bottom where I would fold all the way to the top. So these measurements include your seam allowances, and it's 14 inches wide. So once you've drawn out a rectangle that's 19.5 by 14, then you can go in and draw your casings. Here at the bottom is your fold line. So when you lay your pattern out on your material, you're going to have it set on the fold. So then you're only going to cut out 3 parts. Your seam allowances on each side is a 1/2 inch. Your casing is 1.5 inches, because you're going to, well, that's just your casing. So the top of your bag, when it's complete, will be right here. But that's your casing, so you're going to fold that over, and that's where your drawstrings are going to go in. So I'm going to go ahead and make my other daughter, who loves orange, her bag. So I used this ripstop nylon in this holy moly neon orange. Let's see. And I believe when I purchase fabric, I always purchase a yard. I mean, I always purchase a yard, because I like having the extra. There's just something about having extra fabric around that, you know, you can do whatever you want to with, and there you go. So I'll figure out something to do. I just had an idea. Maybe I'll make a little zipper bag, maybe. I don't know. I'll think about it. But I'll figure out something else to do with this. So what I'm going to do, once I got my pattern drawn out, I'm going to lay it here. So as you can see here, this is where it would unfold, and here at the bottom is where it's folded. So it's folded in half. This is my fold line. We're going to lay it out, and then I'm going to put my pattern on here for my fold line. So like I said, we're not going to cut here. I'm going to lay it out, and if your seams are good enough, you can line up that side. But that's kind of It wasn't cut very well, so. Here on the pattern, in this corner, I marked a 1/2 inch mark here on each corner of my pattern. And over here, I made sure to mark here. So when you're sewing, you don't want to sew into the casing. So this is where you stop sewing at. And because of those marks on the pattern, I'm going to mark them here on my fabric. So when I sew everything together, I don't want to sew past this mark, and I want to start here. We need to leave a hole at the bottom so we can put our drawstring through later, and we don't want to go any further than this because that's going to be our casing, and that'll mess up the holes. So I'm going to do that on that side and move it over and mark it on this side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get this cut out. Now that I have my bag cut out and clipped together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the side seams. So I'm going to go in and I am going to, what's this close in as it gets? I'm going to go in and from the mark that I made here, a 1/2 inch from the bottom, and to the bottom of my casing, I'm going to sew a straight stitch, and I'm going to back stitch at both these ends. So I'm going to sew up here and I'm going to sew up here, and I will be right back. Okay, now that I'm done with my bag, I trimmed my extra little threads, and this stuff does fray. It doesn't fray as much as some, but it does fray. So if you're going to use this bag a lot, then it would be wise to take care of the edges. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a zigzag stitch near the edge and let it go at that, or a serge, or something like that. But I would need to still stop. You could stop here, and then, you know, just as long as you have the main edges done for each seam, or each side of the, you know, for this side and for this side, you should be okay. Because if you use the bag, you don't want the edges fraying and then destroying your whole bag. But that's also why I gave you a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so that, you know, hopefully that won't happen. But just to be on the safe side, I'm going to zigzag the edges. Okay, now that I took care of my edges, they're not the prettiest things in the world. I mean, seriously, they're not the prettiest things in the world, but it'll keep you from fraying, and that's the important part. Okay, so now we're going to work on our casing. So the way I had it worked here on this bag is that, because when I made this bag, I believe that it was, because I couldn't get this one to fray at all, so I figured it was, you didn't have to worry about it. So I didn't worry about it on this one. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the edges and we're going to fold them down just a little bit. So we're going to take our edge and we're going to fold it in 1/4 inch, I guess. 1/4 inch. And that did not lay flat, so we're going to have to measure it. Let's see. So I have this little measuring device. It's from fabric.com, and what it does on every length, every straight edge, there's a measurement to it on both sides. Oops. So, you know, that's one side, and then there's measurements on the other side. And so I use this a lot of times. So right here, right there is my 1/4 inch. So I'm going to use that and measure down 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to finger press, which is just me pushing down against the fabric till it holds a crease. I'm going to finger press here. I'm going to go all the way along and finger press. I'm not going to use an iron on this because I haven't tried it yet, and I think it melts. I think ripstop melts. I mean, it's nylon, so I believe it melts. because I didn't see anything on the packaging saying it was fire retardant or anything like that. So I believe ripstop melts. If I'm wrong, somebody tell me, but I don't want to turn on my iron right now. My room is super hot, and I'm having a hot flash right now. Whew. So I am going to just finger press 1/4 of an inch down. And once I have that finger pressed down, it should stay. And then I'm going to fold it over. Like this. We're going to fold the inside. We're going to fold the inside, the side seam to the inside like this. And then we're going to fold it over. We're going to fold this like this. And like this. So like this. So we folded our side to the side like that. We're going to fold it over, and then we're going to take that fold and fold over the edge 1/4 of an inch. Like that. Well, like that when I do it. Like that. And because I have my clips, I'm going to clip it. So that's what that corner should look like. Well, let me get you back in focus here. See that? So I folded it over, and then I folded the edge down. And that's what it looks like. So then, I'm going to do the other side. Fold the sides over, and then I'm going to fold the edge down. Now, once I've got that done, I'm going to fold. I'll put one right here, just so that it stays. Okay, so once I have that done, I'm going to fold it over like this. Now, if I had a pin, I would pin it all in place, but I don't want to pin this. But I am going to. Okay, so now that I finally got all that figured out, what I did was, once I got one of the edges situated the way I wanted it, all I did was flip it over and then match up the other side. So that, because what I wanted, when we sew it, we're going to sew it in the round, which means I'm going to slide it over my sewing machine like this and then stitch in the round. And I wanted to do that because I'm going to start sewing here on this side where our drawstrings will be coming out of. And I want to make sure that I'm going to stitch really close to that folded edge, because that folded edge is tucked under so that it won't fray with use. So I'm going to stitch really close here, and I wanted to make sure that each casing on each side of my bag matches the other side. Now, one of the things here is that my casing shows up like sewn halfway here. So what I should have done and here I needed to drop it by like 1/2 inch, but I'm too lazy to do that, so I just kept it this way. But if you don't want it like this, because what it should look like, you should have stitching here and there should be no extra stitching. Let's see, can you see? Get super close. In reality, how you want it to look like, you want the stitching that goes across the bottom and no stitching there in the seam in the middle, because that's where your drawstring comes out at. But I'm okay, I made a mistake. I need to change my pattern to drop my casing 1/2 inch, and then that'll take care of that. But I'm not going to do that because I'm lazy. I'm not going to pick it out. But if you want it done right, that's what you need to do. So this was my mistake. So drop your casing. Your casing should be 2 inches here, because then you fold over your edge 1/4 inch, and then you fold it over, so it should be 1 inch here and 1 inch here on this side. So you need 2.5 inches instead. No, I'm sorry, 2 inches, not 2.5, 2 inches. So you just need to add an extra 1/2 inch to your casing. Okay, so I have everything matching up, and as you can see, I put pins in there, but I made sure I put them in a place that I know I was going to sew over, so that we won't have any weird holes anywhere else. So I'm going to sew up the casing. I'm going to start here where the drawstrings would come out at, and I'm going to make sure I sit really close to the folded edge. I'm going to back stitch right here to add strength to where my drawstrings come out of, and I'm going to sew it in a circle all the way around. So when I put it on the sewing machine, I'm going to put it on the sewing machine over my arm. So like when I'm sewing, it goes on over my arm like this, back stitch right here, and sew it all the way in a circle until I come back here, and then I'll back stitch again. And then when I hit the other side, I'm going to back stitch here too. I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here we go. So I got my casing done. This is what it looks like. Oh, let me snip my threads here. So this is what the inside of the casing looks like. My lighting isn't the best here today, but so that's what it looks like. So I got my where my drawstring is supposed to be. So we'll put our drawstrings in a minute. There's my seam, and it goes all the way down until I have my 1/2 inch part that's unseamed down here. We're going to be dealing with that in just a minute. So what we're going to do now, we're going to flip our bag inside out. We're almost done. Okay, so now this is the string that I got. Like I said earlier, you can get it at Joann's, you can get it at Hobby Lobby. It's usually buy by the yard, you purchase by the yard. This came in a prepackaged amount, and I don't actually remember how much was in it, but it was just enough. I don't think I had anything left over. And this is how I measured it. So I took one end, and because we're going to have it poking in like this, about 1/2 inch, so this way, this way, and then it's going to loop around, come back out that way, and then back down this way. And then I gave it an extra inch there just to add ease to it, so that it'll work out like this. So that's how you would measure it out, and you need 2 of those, because you're going to put your drawstring in, and your strings are going to come down one side, and your second drawstring is going to do the other side. So in order to, I'm going to use a big old safety pin. These are, you can get the big O safety pins. The gold ones are in the quilting section, because quilters use them to pin their tops and the batting and the bottoms together so they can quilt everything. And I'm going to use that, and I'm going to thread it through. So when I thread it through, I'm going to start here, thread it through, go through the other side of the casing, so both my strings are going to hang out on one side. Okay, so now we're going to take these ends right here, we're going to line them up so they're nice and even, and we're going to take these 2 ends and slip them through that hole that we had left here at the bottom. And there we go. We're going to do some finagling to get that in. Okay, we're going to cheat here. What I have here is a pair of needle nose pliers, and I'm going to go in through that hole with my needle nose pliers without stretching or tearing anything. And pull it through. Ta-da! Awesome. So now I have that one through. Now I'm going to go back and do the other one. Ta-da! So now I've got them both in. Okay, so what I'm going to do now that I have both my strings through that 1/2 inch that we left at the bottom, I'm going to pull them back so that the edges of the string match up the edges of the seam allowance. Right there. And now I'm going to put it back under my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch across the drawstring right there like 4 times to secure it in place. So I'm going to do that and I'm going to do the other side and I'll be right back to show you the finished bag. Okay, so here we go. Here I go. So I've got, my bag's turned inside out because I just got through sewing the tabs or the drawstring here in the corner. You can kind of see it through the light. So I'm going to flip it inside out. Oop, trim our threads. If we find any threads that need to be trimmed, trim them off. Okay. And there you go. And there's your bag. It's all complete. Get your drawstring bag. And you're good to go. So you just cinch it up like that. Throw it on your kid's back. And then when they get what they need to get, there you go. You open it up like this. And I like this ripstop nylon because it's light and also because it's slick, which means if we were doing this in fabric, there'd be more friction between the drawstring and the casing, and it would be a little harder for it to cinch and uncinch. But it's a smoother, see, it's just smoother. This is why I like the ripstop nylon, and that's probably why most cinch sacks are made out of this. Because fabric cinch sacks, I mean, they're nice and everything, but when you're doing something like traveling and you want to get in and out easily, you don't want to fight the bag to open it up. So there you go. If anybody has any questions, pop them in the comments below. I'm glad you were able to join us today, and I hope that you guys are able to take these projects and run with them. Just to give you an idea though, before you put everything together, before you sew the side seams and the casing, cutting it out and decorating it, adding pockets, anything like that would be awesome to do while it's flat and the side seams are unsewn. So what I would do is like if I wanted to add a pocket, I would add a pocket like right here, kind of like not in the direct middle, but in the lower half. You could add a pocket there. You could add a pocket with a zipper right here. You could add any type of embroidery or monogramming. You could put, you know, any type of pictures right here. You can decorate both sides if you want to. Add lace here at the top. Sorry, the sides. Add lace here at the sides. You could do something to the top if you wanted to. If you wanted to add a completely separate casing, as in instead of having it just fold over at the top, you could have a strip of material and fold it over and do it completely separate around the top. That's up to you. There's a way to do that. So when you have your bags like this is just a plain simple bag for my daughter to tote stuff with, but you could decorate it, add pockets, add zippers, add, you know, you can have a pocket here for, I don't know, an MP3 player, a pocket for your pencils, a pocket for money or change. You can make these bigger and use them as a laundry bag, and then add a pocket for change to go to the laundromat if you're like a college kid or something like that. Or, you know, just however, whatever floats your boat. This is a very good pattern to decorate and embellish and expand or shrink or, you know, anything like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions. If you have any, you know, anything you want to talk about, I'm always willing to talk to you, chat to you guys. I hope you give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my videos, and always, always, always share, 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 share. You know, the more you guys share, the more we get to talk with new people, and that's always exciting. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.